welcome to the deep dive. We've got some really cool material you sent us.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a transcript of a conversation between two artists.
Interesting.
And it gets into some pretty fascinating stuff about how technology is reshaping the art world and even using AI for self-reflection.
Wow. That is fascinating.
Yeah, it goes way beyond just like, paintbrushes and palettes. It's like peeking into the minds of creatives and finding like these really universal truths about learning and growth.
Well, and it just shows you how like a casual conversation can lead to
absolutely,
some really profound insights.
Yeah, and what struck me too is how relevant this is.
Yeah.
To anyone in any field, not just art.
It's true.
Like one of the first things they talked about that jumped out at me was how these artists were blown away by the power of audio.
Oh, interesting.
They actually said that hearing each other's voices changed how they saw each other.
It's amazing how much our voices reveal, right? Like you don't get that in a text or even a video sometimes.
No, it's true. There's like an intimacy and emotional depth to the voice.
For sure.
That you just don't get through other mediums.
Yeah.
One of them even said, it's like, I finally met the real person.
Wow.
And this got them talking about this whole evolution of audio apps.
Yeah, what did they say about that?
So they were reminiscing about Clubhouse, remember that?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Then things shifted to Twitter Spaces.
Right.
And now they're even exploring platforms like Radio Talk.
Radio Talk?
Yeah, it's in Japan.
Okay.
Where anyone can host their own live audio show.
That's cool. It just shows how technology is changing the game for so many artists.
Oh, absolutely. It's not even just broadcasting. It's like connection. It's community building.
Yeah, especially nowadays when it's sometimes hard to, meet up in person.
Absolutely, yeah. And this led to this really interesting debate they had about knowledge sharing online.
Interesting.
One artist is worried about giving away too much, revealing those secret sauce techniques.
Right.
While the other one believes it actually encourages learning and doesn't mean someone can just replicate your style.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And this is something that resonates far beyond the art world, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like how much do you share? When does transparency turn into giving away your competitive edge?
Yeah.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And it reminds me of that whole debate about apprenticeships. Is it better to learn by observation or by having everything spelled out in a manual?
Totally.
This led the artist to a great point about teaching.
Oh, they say?
They compared it to the Starbucks training philosophy. Have you heard of that?
I have not.
So by teaching someone else, you actually solidify your own understanding.
Oh, that's interesting.
Isn't that a cool idea?
Yeah.
It forces you to articulate your knowledge.
Yeah.
Identify gaps in your own understanding.
Right.
And see things from a different perspective.
That's such a good point.
Yeah. And both artists really emphasized how crucial clear communication and perspective are when you're teaching.
But for sure.
Like you have to break down complex ideas in a way that makes sense.
Right.
To someone who doesn't see the world through your expert lens.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, and this brought them to another really important point.
Yeah.
Failure.
Oh, interesting.
They both agreed that setbacks and flops are unavoidable.
Yeah.
But they're also incredibly valuable learning opportunities.
Absolutely.
Like they force you to step back, reevaluate your approach.
For sure.
And maybe even discover a whole new way of doing things.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think we can all relate to that.
Oh, absolutely. I've had my fair share of face palm moments.
Yeah.
In my career. It's not about avoiding failure. It's about how we frame those experiences and what we learn from them.
I love that. It's about viewing them as stepping stones on the path to growth.
Exactly.
This is really interesting stuff.
Yeah. And this led one of the artists to talk about how they use technology
to
stay ahead of the curve.
Oh, nice.
They mentioned using Google Alerts and digests to get a daily dose of news and trends specific to the art world.
That's a good idea.
Which made me think about like your own information sources. What are you using to stay informed and relevant in your field?
Yeah, good question.
Are there tools or strategies you could be leveraging to gain an edge?
It's always worth evaluating that, right?
Absolutely.
Making sure we're not missing out on,
Yeah.
Any good insights.
Exactly. And speaking of gaining insights, one of the artists described doing something I found absolutely mind-blowing.
Oh, wow. What is it?
They're using AI tools like Listen Notes and Notebook LM to transcribe and analyze their own conversations.
Whoa.
Even creating an AI-generated podcast from their content.
Wait, what? Really?
That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, right?
It does. That is wild.
Yeah.
So Listen Notes is like a podcast search engine.
Right.
And Notebook LM is this AI research tool that can like summarize documents and generate different creative text formats from your notes.
That's incredible.
So they're using it to like hold up a mirror to their own.
It's like having an AI alter ego who can analyze your every word and thought.
It's crazy.
Talk about radical self-reflection.
It's amazing.
This is incredible.
It really speaks to the potential of AI, not just for creation, but like you said, self-discovery.
Absolutely.
You could use similar tools, like maybe Otter.ai for transcription, to kind of get a different perspective.
Oh, I love that idea.
On your own work.
Yeah.
Imagine the insights you could gain.
Oh, for sure.
Now, this whole AI experiment led them to a very honest conversation about the difficulty of being objective.
Yeah.
They acknowledged that it's incredibly hard to see your own life and work without biases and blind spots.
Which makes sense.
It does.
We all have our own narratives, our own emotional filters
Absolutely.
that shape how we see the world.
For sure.
Yeah. They even talked about how tricky it can be to separate emotions from facts when recalling events.
Totally.
It's so easy to get caught up in, I was so angry, or this was so unfair, instead of just describing what happened.
For sure. It's like our emotions become the lens through which we view everything, even our own past experiences.
Yeah. And this awareness led them to a broader discussion about the importance.
Yes.
Self-awareness, emotional control, and seeking feedback from others to get a more balanced view of ourselves.
Absolutely. I think we could all
for sure
benefit from that.
Yeah, learning to see ourselves more clearly, both the good and the bad.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They even talked about the challenges of controlling impulsive reactions.
Yeah.
Using examples like resisting the urge to eat chocolate or smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, even when you know it's bad for you.
Even when you know it's not good for you.
Totally.
Yeah. It's about recognizing those impulses and consciously choosing how to respond.
I love that.
It's like that kind of self-control is a skill that applies to so much more than just resisting temptation.
Totally. It's about having the awareness to pause and separate your emotional response from, you know, a more deliberate action.
Yes. And this led them to a fascinating concept. Using technology to create a feedback loop for self-improvement.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting.
This is where it gets really interesting. So they're talking about using AI to analyze their conversations and essentially create a third-person perspective on their own lives.
Yeah, it's like having an AI life coach.
Oh, wow.
Pointing out your blind spots.
Yeah.
You know, the things you don't realize.
That's incredible.
They're experimenting with it to identify their own biases, creative blocks, even communication patterns.
It's wild to think about the insights you could get by seeing yourself through an AI's eyes.
Totally.
And speaking of communication, the artists also touched on the struggle.
Okay.
To articulate your thoughts clearly.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when it comes to something as personal and nuanced as art.
Right.
They admitted that even when they think they understand something, trying to put it into words can reveal gaps in their knowledge.
That happens to me all the time.
Oh, for sure.
You think you know something and then you try to explain it.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute.
Totally.
I don't actually know this as well as I thought.
And that's where dialogue and feedback becomes so crucial.
Absolutely.
Right. They talked about how bouncing ideas off each other and getting feedback from their peers helps them refine their thinking.
It's like having a sounding board to test your ideas and see if they actually, you know.
Hold up. It highlights the importance of surrounding yourself.
For sure.
With people who can provide honest and constructive feedback.
It's so important.
Right. Sometimes a fresh perspective can reveal those blind spots we don't see on our own.
I totally agree.
Totally. And they even mentioned how simply observing others can be a powerful form of learning.
Oh, absolutely.
One of them talked about watching YouTube videos.
Oh, okay.
To see how other artists approach their craft.
Interesting.
Picking up techniques and ideas.
Yeah, like stealing.
Yeah. Not stealing.
Like learning.
Yeah, being inspired by.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a reminder that learning is an ongoing process.
It is.
It doesn't always have to be formal or structured.
Right.
Sometimes the most valuable lessons come from simply paying attention to how others do things.
I think so.
Yeah. And this ties into a beautiful point they made about how everyone has something to teach.
That's a good point.
Even if they don't. Consider themselves an expert.
I like that.
They said sharing your process, your struggles, your aha moments can be incredibly helpful.
It can be.
To others who are on their own learning journey.
It's about fostering a culture of, shared learning and recognizing that everyone has something to contribute.
Yes.
To the collective,
It's not just about receiving information.
Right.
It's about contributing to the pool of knowledge.
Exactly.
And then they had this amazing idea.
Oh, tell me about it.
About starting a sculpture class.
Wow.
Not just to teach techniques, but to create a community.
Yeah.
Where people can learn from each other.
I love that.
And show their passion for art.
That's beautiful. It's like building something bigger than just individual artists.
Exactly.
Working in isolation.
And they even acknowledged that this idea is still in its early stages.
Okay.
They're not sure how it'll all come together.
Yeah, right.
But they're excited about the possibility.
Great.
It reminds me of that quote.
Yeah.
The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Love it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that spirit of exploration really shines through.
It does.
In their conversation.
Absolutely.
They're not afraid to experiment, to try new things, to push the boundaries of what's possible.
I love that.
And their willingness to share their process, both the successes and the stumbles, is incredibly valuable.
Absolutely.
Like they're saying, hey, we're all in this together.
I love that.
Let's learn from each other.
Yeah.
And make something amazing.
Totally.
Which brings me back to their use of AI
Okay.
for self-reflection.
Yes.
It's such a bold and innovative approach to personal growth.
Absolutely.
It really is.
And it makes you wonder, how could you apply this concept to your own life?
Yeah, what tools or methods could you use to gain a more objective perspective?
Exactly.
On your work, your habits, even your thought patterns.
Right.
Maybe it's journaling.
Yeah.
Seeking feedback from a trusted mentor, or even trying out some of those AI tools.
Absolutely.
They mentioned.
The key is to be open.
Yes.
To new ways of seeing ourselves.
Totally.
And the world around us.
And that openness to new experiences is something these artists really embody.
I do.
They're constantly exploring, experimenting, pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
And they're not just focused on their own growth.
Right.
They're also passionate about sharing their knowledge and building community.
Absolutely.
They see the value in collaboration.
Totally.
In mentorship.
Yeah.
In creating spaces where people can learn and grow together.
It is.
Which is a powerful reminder.
It is.
For all of us.
Yeah.
Whether we're artists, entrepreneurs, or just navigating life.
Right.
Connection and community are essential.
Absolutely. We thrive when we support each other.
Yes.
Share our experiences and learn from each other's journeys.
And sometimes those connections spark incredible ideas.
Yes.
And lead to amazing collaborations.
They do.
Just like these two artists.
Right.
They're exploring ways to partner with a tech company.
Oh, cool.
To make their sculpture class a reality.
That's awesome. It's a smart move.
It is.
Recognizing they don't have to do everything themselves.
Well, absolutely.
And by collaborating with others who have different skills and resources, they can really amplify their impact.
It's a great reminder that sometimes the most innovative solutions come from thinking outside the box.
Absolutely.
And partnering with people who bring different perspectives and expertise to the table.
I love that.
And that brings us back to a point they made earlier about the importance of clear communication.
Right.
They acknowledge that even as experienced artists, they sometimes struggle to articulate their ideas effectively.
We've all been there.
Oh, for sure.
Right, like fumbling for the words.
Yes.
Not quite getting your message across.
It's a reminder that communication is a skill.
It is.
That requires constant practice and refinement.
Absolutely.
And they offered some valuable tips.
Like what?
Like paying attention to your audience's reactions.
Oh.
Choosing your words carefully and breaking down complex concepts into smaller, more digestible pieces.
That makes sense.
Which is exactly what we try to do.
Yeah.
Here on The Deep Dive.
That's right.
We take complex information and make it accessible and engaging.
Yes.
So you can walk away with a deeper understanding of the topics that matter to you.
I hope so.
We hope this deep dive has inspired you to think about how you can apply these lessons
to
your own life.
To your own life. Yeah. How can you improve your communication skills?
How can you be more open to new experiences and collaborations.
Right.
How can you leverage technology
exactly.
for personal growth?
Those are all great questions.
These are all questions worth pondering.
And as we wrap up this episode, I want to leave you with one final thought inspired by this insightful conversation. It's like, how can you create your own deep dive into your own work or life?
Right.
And it doesn't have to involve AI or anything like that.
Right.
But just seeking out new perspectives through feedback, mentorship, or just trying something different.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's about challenging our own assumptions.
Yeah.
Being willing to see things from a fresh angle.
Totally.
And you know what really struck me throughout this whole conversation?
What's that?
Was how these artists kept circling back to the importance of community.
Yes. It's like a thread throughout everything.
It is.
All their discussions.
Yeah, from their initial connection.
Right.
Through those audio apps.
Yeah.
To their vision for a collaborative sculpture class.
Absolutely.
They seem to really get that creativity thrives in connection, not isolation.
I agree.
That sharing ideas, getting feedback, supporting each other's growth is really what fuels the artistic process.
And that goes beyond just art.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's something we all crave, whether we're building businesses, pursuing passions, just navigating life.
Yeah.
We're stronger when we have people to share the journey with.
Couldn't agree more.
I think these artists are onto something special. This whole idea of a shared learning and creative space.
Absolutely. And they're not just talking about it.
Right.
They're taking action.
Yeah, they are.
Remember how they mentioned the possibility of partnering with a tech company?
Yes.
To help with the logistics of the sculpture class?
Yeah, that's hard.
It shows they're thinking strategically.
Absolutely.
About leveraging resources and expertise.
Beyond their own.
Yeah, beyond their own.
Yeah.
They're recognizing that collaboration can amplify their impact and help them reach a wider audience.
Such a good point.
It's a great example of how cross-disciplinary thinking can lead to these innovative solutions.
Absolutely.
Right. By combining their artistic vision with a tech company's logistical and outreach capabilities.
Right.
They have the potential to create something really unique.
I think so too.
And impactful.
Yeah.
And it all started with a simple conversation.
Right.
Two artists sharing ideas and inspiring each other.
Yeah. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the most amazing things happen when we connect.
Absolutely.
Share our passions.
Yes.
And dare to dream big.
I love that.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we encourage you to consider, where are the opportunities for you to connect with others who share your interests or goals? How can you contribute to a community of shared learning and support? And what bold vision might you pursue, knowing you don't have to do it alone?
Such fantastic questions to ponder. We hope this deep dive has sparked some new ideas, inspired you to continue exploring, connecting, and creating.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.